Hello, my name's Farah Driver, right here. I am your instructor for this course, and this course is History 1112, the second half, effectively, of world civilizations from approximately 1500 to the present. This is an online course, as you probably know, and to that end, I'm hoping you understand that I'm not going to be lecturing you. Everything we're going to be doing is literally going to be in the classroom on our Brightspace page. I'm going to do a second video, hopefully a short one for that one as well, to explain how that page works. But this particular video, opening it up, is going to be about the syllabus and what I expect. Now, the first thing you need to understand, this is an online course, which means everything's going to be done through there, which means it's going to require a lot of reading and writing, because that's effectively the only way that we can learn the material, that you can demonstrate to me how well you're learning the material. So with that in mind, understand you have to be the proactive one here. I'm not going to be lecturing you or extreme feeding you information. I'm going to be asking you questions about the things that you are reading, perhaps some of the stuff that you're watching, because in every week I've also linked some videos to help finesse some of the information. But for the most part, it's very much self-guided based on you keeping up with the reading material and answering my questions to reflect to me through the weekly discussions, and then also through the 4 short primary source analysis papers that you're going to have, that you are understanding what we're doing. All right, so again, right now, this is going to be the quick hit on the syllabus. I encourage you, please read the whole syllabus. It is available in the very top section, what I call the important stuff section on our Brightspace page. Again, when I get you in the next short video, you will see the layout of the course and what I'm planning to do. But for right now, we need to go through this. This is that contract, basically, between you, me, the history department, the School of Liberal Arts, and also GGC itself. So there's a lot of stuff in here that is applicable to those things. What I mostly want to hit on is the stuff that you're going to need to do for me. So first of all, this is who I am, and this is how to reach me, always through the email and through the GGC email. In fact, you're going to want to email me from your GGC email, because they have set the spam filters so high in order to prevent things happening in the system, that unless it's coming from your GGC email, if it actually gets through to me, I am instructed never to open it. So you're going to need to do this entirely through your GGC email whenever you want to get in touch with me. Now, with that in mind, if you actually want to talk to me face to face, I actually live in South Carolina. I am not here in Georgia, where you are. I can come to campus. I have taught on campus, usually teach on campus, as a matter of fact. So we can either Zoom meet, or I can try to come there to meet with you. But either way, you would need to email me to set up a time so that we could work out that meeting. And any questions you have directly, you can either ask me through email or through the discussion forums themselves. I will be reading all of those and reading all the comments. So if there's anything you want to talk about, you can throw it out there. All right, obviously it's an online class. You're expected to have a computer and have access to one. And of course, GGC has many, many, many computer places. So you need to check in on the computer at least once a day. And in fact, with all of the discussions, the way they operate is that your top post is due on Thursday. And then you need to respond to at least 3 of your classmates and or me between Thursday and Monday on different days. The idea is to make the course dynamic, maybe even have hopefully some conversations. And that's only going to happen if you are regularly checking what's going on the discussion forums. So you're going to need to check in every day. And the wonderful thing, of course, about Brightspace is that it lets me know, effectively how often people are in and out and what they're doing. So definitely, this is going to operate in the same sense of any class. You're going to be expected to be in class, and that requires checking in to the Brightspace page itself. Okay, so these are your basic expectations of students. For the most part, You should check your email regularly again, check in on the course regularly, complete all the assignments on time. If for some reason you can't, if something comes up, then you need to let me know before the assignment is due. Please do not come to me afterwards, because for the most part, I would like for you, I mean, I'm tolerant if there are problems, if something happens and you can't get something in on time, but you need to let me know before it's due. Don't wait until well after it's due and say, oh yeah, I was sick that day. It's like, no, 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 no. Have enough respect for me. And because again, this is a discussion-driven course, for your classmates, they need to have stuff to respond to as well. So that is putting a big concern on that. So by all means, let me know if there's some reason that something's going to be late. And the late penalty, if I don't know what's going on, or if it is in something that is not excused by the university, is 10% per day, which can knock down the points on that really, really quickly. So again, here we are, World Civilizations 2, everything's through Brightspace. You will need, for the tests, there will be 2 tests, a midterm and a final. You're going to need to have the Respondus Lockdown browser, which you can link through here. You'll need to download it before the midterm. Definitely make sure you can access it and that it's operational. It's going to let me be able to monitor you to make sure that you are not having a friend over to help you take the tests, and also that you are only using the materials available for the test. For those points, you'll be able to use anything that we've used in the course, but you will not be able to use anything else. So no going around searching around online to find answers to things. Everything has to be cited from the sources that I'm going to give you. All right, so course resources. You need a textbook. And I particularly don't care which one, other than it needs to be one that has, if possible, sources in it. And what I mean by that are primary sources. You're going to have 3 primary source papers to write, 4 primary source analyses to do. And within those, you need to have access to primary sources to use. And any of these have them. Now, these are the big 3 that I prefer. Patterns of World History is actually my preferred favorite. I really, really like the Oxford publication version of that. It's nicely laid out. At the end of every chapter, it has primary sources. The university itself keeps both Ways of the World with sources in-house by Strayer and Nelson, and Traditions Encounters, the Bentley book. Here are images of them so that you can see them. This is the 5th edition of Ways of the World, Volume 2, and it needs to be the 2nd volume because this is the course that starts in the 14 to 1500s and comes up to the present, Volume 2. This is Ways of the World. There is also, though, a earlier version of this. Whoops, sorry, backwards there. The 4th edition, and I'm fine if you use that one. As you'll notice, the price is a lot cheaper on that one. Get it anywhere used from $24.98. This is Amazon. You can also check the GGC bookstore. I am fine with an older version of the book as long as it has sources in it. This is Patterns of World History, the 3rd edition, Volume 2, again, from 1400 to the present. Again, with sources, edited von Sivers, Denoyer, and Stowe. The newest version of that, the 4th edition, again, notice the pricing is a little bit higher here. So if you want to use an older edition, the 3rd edition, I'm fine with that too. And then this is the Bentley book, Traditions and Encounters, A Global Perspective on the Past, Volume 2, from 1500 to the present. Now, I don't think Bentley has sources in it, so you're going to have to use online places like the Internet History source books to get your primary sources if you are using the Bentley. There's also, and I'm showing this now because this is a new version, there's also this, World History Volume 2 from 1400, an open source, as in free, publication. It was just, I think they just released it in December. It's actually also very good. The distinction with it, and I'm fine if you want to use it because I know most of you probably don't have a lot of money. You are welcome to use it, but the thing is, I don't have it listed in the syllabus for what you need to read. It is new. I have not gone through it and torn it down and put the links in for that. So if you decide to use this book, you're going to have to keep up with what you're supposed to be reading. And you can do that by looking at the syllabus chart, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. But anyway, these are the three, or the four, including this one, the four ones you have to choose from. Again, if you use either the Bentley or the von Sivers or the Strayer and Nelson, I have the specific chapters that are required for each week already listed on the to be read page for each week on the website. So again, I will show you that when we get to that particular video. So for right now, we're going to go back to the syllabus itself. I'm going to point out too, when you go to the bookstore, if you choose to go to the bookstore or if you choose to order it online, these that I have listed here are the newest editions. Now, here's a secret for you. This little thing right here, this ISBN 13, that is literally the number that identifies that specific book. ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number. 13 means that in this case it's 13 digits. ISBN 10, ISBN 13, these are standard ways to denote books. They've gone to 13 now because there are many, many more books published now than there ever have been. If you want to go specifically to one of these editions, you just copy that ISBN 13 number, the 978-1-319-331-146, or down here, 978-0-190-693-619. Copy and paste that directly into an Amazon browser, or write it down, take it specifically over to the bookstore and tell them you want that specific book. They'll be able to enter it in their system and pull up that specific one. These literally are the specific numbers for these. Again, these are the newer editions, so they're going to be the ones that are more expensive. If you want an older edition, like the ones I was showing you earlier, on Amazon, you're welcome to one of those, but that doesn't work with those particular numbers. All right, so going on down, this is the link right here, the OpenStax link. That's the link to the free book that I was showing you. But again, you'll have to keep up with what you need to be reading. All right, there are going to be some other sources that I'm going to require you to use. Peter Frankopan's The Silk Roads will be a complimentary book. It is available at the Internet Archive. I have linked it specifically in each week with which chapters you'll need to be reading from it. And Harari's Homo Sapiens, which is a wonderful, wonderful book as well. I've got several chapters from it that I want you to read. Again, I have linked and provided those on the particular content page for each week. So you will have direct access to those. You don't have to buy those. You do, however, have to read them. All right, going a little bit further then. Additional resources, if I decide, because I'm thinking about adding a couple more things. If I do, I will also link them in there and provide them so that you don't have to buy anything for the course. All right, course goals and objectives. These are things where the school wants to put things in, what the outcomes are, things you should be able to do, differentiate between a primary and secondary source, and understand how to analyze them. Get a basic broad knowledge of American and world historical geography. In this course, because this is all online, I can't really give you what we would call a memorization test. Like I can't give you a map and say identify things, because it'd be way too easy for you to open the book and do that. But instead, we will have discussions effectively of climate and geography that will be in the discussions and in the test. So you'll be demonstrating to me that you actually kind of understand the difference between what we refer to as the East, which is effectively from what we recognize today as the Middle East, all the way over to China. And then, of course, the West, those societies that developed as a byproduct of the European domination of the Western Hemisphere, as well as of Europe itself. So the East, the West, that's a geographical construct we'll be working with as well. How those areas developed differently, and how European expansion has affected pretty much all the parts of the world. An understanding of how human interaction with nature has shaped history. We'll definitely be talking a lot about that. And basically this part right here, the select mastery of key people, trends, and events in world history. So Again, you're going to have to read. You're going to have a good understanding of some of these big pivotal moments and events in history. All right, standard grading scale, 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, and hopefully we won't have to talk about anything beyond that because I know you guys are all going to be very invested in the course, and I'm not going to have to worry about any of those failings. That in mind, here are how I'm grading you. We will have 13 discussion forums because we have effectively 13 to 14 weeks of the course. There will be one every week starting with week 1. You're going to hit the ground running on this on Thursday. You have a top post due to me, basically discussing the first question, which I will show you again in a moment when we get to that whole thing of looking at the actual website itself. For you, fortunately, I don't count all 13. I only count your top 10. Which means if you come to this course late, as in you are adding this in the second week of classes, then while you will need to know the material from the first discussion, it will count as one of your 3 dropped grades. Because again, this is a discussion-based classroom. Going back and throwing something in after discussion is closed doesn't effectively work as a discussion point. So the top 10 of them count a total of 40%. And while it seems small when you think, oh, it's only 4% a week, no, that's a lot a week. It is the difference between letter grades. It's the difference between passing and failing. There are 4 primary source analyses. Each one of those is worth 8%. The very first one is due at the end of the second week. Yes, next week. So probably the 3rd or 4th video that I'm going to link in here for you to be able to watch is going to be a discussion of what you're going to be doing for that primary source analyses. You'll have one midterm, which will be in week 6. It'll be worth 13%. It is all essay, so just buck up and prepare yourself right now. And your final exam, also worth 15%, is also all essay, and it'll be given during the exam week. All right, as I've already said, late policy, if for some reason you don't get something turned into me when it is due, it is 10% per day, up to 3 days, after which I can decline to grade it at all, especially if you have not told me why it's late. Valid reasons for being late, of course, illness, as we all know, especially in the wake of the COVID. Some sort of emergency involving family, involving someone close to you, anything that occurs that's going to take you off of being able to participate when something is due. Again, the big thing is you need to let me know beforehand, before the due date, or as close to the due date as possible. Now, I am going to tell you this. All of your primary source analyses are already scheduled. All of those drop boxes are already set up. All of the questions are already there. So being late with one of those, I'm a little less sympathetic about because you've known literally since day 1, or whichever day you're watching this video, that you have those 4 things due and when they're due. So you need to keep up with that. And if there is a problem, again, please let me know as soon as you know. Bearing in mind, of course, that again, you can turn those in anytime. You don't have to wait until the day they're due to turn them in. They can come in anytime. All right, so again, your assessment tools, the discussions, again, and that should be 13, not 12 for your final grade. Primary source analyses, midterm and final are both timed, by the way, so you're not going to have lots of time to hang around with them. You're going to have to think about and know the history because you've got effectively 2 hours for the midterm and 3 hours for the final. So you want to be sure you're up on those. All right, citation is mandatory in everything. I'm going to say that again. Citation is mandatory in everything you submit to me. You may use a PA citation, the in-text parenthetical thing where you put the author and the date and the page number, particularly if you're using a book. And then at the end of either the discussion post or the paper, you list, you give me the full citation for your source, author, title, date, publication information, or location if you're getting it online. It's basically the works cited format. So those are required in all of your discussions, in all of your papers, in everything that you submit. I also will have a handout for that I will send around when we do this. All right, so here's our course outline, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Each one of these I've pretty much set up the topic. If you're using the OpenStax book, you're going to have to kind of keep up with that and what's going on. If I have time, I will try in each weekend before the next week starts to put the parts of the OpenStax thing you need to read, but for the most part, I would say just continue to go straight through it because it's going to be pretty demanding. All right, so each week I have the dates already set up, the general topic, the readings and sources, which are on the top page for each week on the course itself. That's what online means, on the course page itself. And then your discussions, your top post, answering my discussion question is due, interesting, is due on Thursday. And then you have between Thursday and Monday to respond to 3 of your peers or to me. Like I said, I'll address all of them as well. And answering my questions actually serves 2 purposes. It serves the purpose of being a peer response, counting as one of the 3, but also any questions I ask you are going to go towards trying to flesh out information that maybe you didn't do a thorough job with in your top post. So talking to me and answering my questions is going to help your overall grade go up. It's going to demonstrate to me that you do know the stuff that you either didn't include or that something else is going on. All right, so actually the first primary source paper, I actually thought I had it due in week 2, but I've got it in week 3, is due then. So again, we'll be talking about that as we go along. Over here in this column is when all things are due. So yes, the first one in week 3, the second one in week 5, your midterm again is in week 6, and then spring break, March the 5th through the 12th. Again, we'll be keeping up with how this goes. Your third primary source paper in week 9, your fourth one then in week 12, which gives you 2 more discussion weeks, and then the final itself at the beginning of May. All right. We'll again respond to lockdown browser required for the final. Everything that you're going to do with me, by the way, is going to be checked through Turnitin, including the discussion posts. So don't think about going off to Course Hero or going off to somebody else who's had the course before and getting their work, because I'm going to run every discussion post through Turnitin. And if you come back with a value over 25%, I'm going to go into it and look at it. The first time you do that, you're going to get a 0 for that discussion. The second time you do that, we're going to be talking about whether or not you can remain in the course, because I do not like cheating. And taking somebody else's work and trying to pass it off as your own is exactly that. It's cheating. Here are the important dates. Again, most of this is pretty straightforward. Classes begin on the 17th. Hopefully you're watching this on the 17th and you know that you have a discussion due on the 19th, right? Drop add period ends on the 23rd. You effectively have 1 week for that. If you added the course late again, I hope you're watching this and understand that your first week's discussion you need to understand the material for, but we're not going to be going back and rehashing that discussion. It will count as one of your 3 drop discussions. Midterm grades are due on March the 3rd or March the 1st. March the 3rd is the last day to drop the class with a W, which means to get out of it without having a final grade for it recorded. Again, the 5th through the 12th, spring break. May the 1st is the last official day of classes and also the last day to drop the course with a W at all, even though I think at that point it's a WF. Final grades due, or final exams are between May the 2nd and the 8th. We will establish, as we get close to that, the due date for your exam. You can take it anytime during the period of the final exams up until whatever the due date is that I set for it, which is normally around the 7th, because I have to have the final grades in on the 10th at 9 a.m., which means that if you are on a borderline, you're not doing as well as you want, and you want to try to get that grade up, you got a couple of days to talk to me and convince me that there's something you can do to do that, right? All right, and then the grades themselves are available on the 15th. If you are a graduating senior, though, your commencement is on the 11th. Course changes, a lot of this is just based on if some catastrophic event happens and we lose the internet, it gives me the right to do something like alter a discussion point, extend a deadline, those sorts of things, change content as we need to. All right, I'm not going to go through all the School of Liberal Arts stuff or the IEE stuff. You can look at that. I will tell you that you are part of the IEE assessment. Oh, what do they call that? The testing thing. So there's 1 week in there, and I don't know yet which one it is, that they are going to ask you to spend about 15 minutes doing some questionnaire to determine proficiency. When we get there, I will let you know. I actually will let you know ahead of time. Again, academic integrity and turn it in. This is an online class, and I take this extremely seriously. I take this extremely seriously in the classroom, but I have a big problem with plagiarism and with cheating. So please don't do that. Just don't do it. Don't get me angry. You don't want to see me angry. Citation again is mandatory. There are 3 times when you absolutely must cite, and by that I mean at the end of a sentence you must put the parentheses followed by the author's name with a comma, the date of the publication, comma, and then if it is a book, the page number, and then you close the parentheses. You put your second little parentheses in there. And then at the bottom of your work, whether it is your discussion post or your paper, you will have your work cited, where you will list alphabetically by the author's names the full citation for the source, which would be author, again, title of the source, date of the publication, and then the publication information. If it is a book, you're going to put the publisher and the main city of the publishing house. If it is a website, you put the website name, and then you put the direct link to that source. So you must obviously, and I think most of you know this, cite when you use a direct quote. If you're copying and pasting something from somewhere, then you must have quotation marks around that, and immediately at the end of it, after the close quotation mark, you must have the cite. When you paraphrase, and what we mean by this is you've read something, you like the idea behind it, but you put it in your own words. That's great. They're your words, so you don't have to use the quotation marks, but there's somebody else's idea, so you must cite. You must put a citation at the end of that. And the third time is when something isn't common knowledge. The best example I can give you of this is we here in the United States, pretty much anytime somebody says something about 1776, almost all of us know, either from a history course or just through being around everyone else here in the United States, that 1776 was the year of the Declaration of Independence, when the United States began to become the United States and not the British colonies. Thus, you don't have to cite that because most of us know that. But if I'm talking to you and I mention, I don't know, let's suppose I say, and 1876 was a really interesting year. Well, most of you don't know what happened in 1876. A lot of things happened in 1876, but at this point, it's most likely that we would be talking about Custer's Last Stand, which is something that I know because one of my specialties is Indigenous history, but it's not something that most of you would know, that was the year that happened. Thus, if I were writing that date in a paper and discussing that, I would have to cite it because it is not common knowledge. Here's an easy shortcut. If it is a number, as in a date or a population figure or a price figure or anything literally that involves numbers, almost always you will have to cite it because most people do not retain numbers as part of their common core memory function. So anytime you're using a number, pretty much you're going to have to cite it. Anytime you're using information, again, that's not common knowledge, you're going to want to cite it. All right. That's your basic thing. Here's plagiarism, what it is. Again, directly quoting somebody without giving them credit and without using the quotation marks. That is plagiarism. Overusing quotations in a written work. You want to use quotes to support your ideas, not to replace them. And in fact, for most papers, the standard rule of thumb is if I am looking at your Turnitin report and it shows me a figure over 40%, then I'm going to tear it apart. I told you before 25%, which is when I look at it, but if it's over 40, that means you're substantially using somebody else's work more than your own. So you definitely don't want to see that figure in that area. Paraphrasing somebody else's words without citing them, plagiarism, that is, again, that's a form of theft. Submitting assignments and other work that are not your own. That goes back again to using Course Hero or getting work from someone else who's taken the course or using the new thing, having these AI things write papers for you. No, 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 that's not your own work. That is some artificial intelligence. Fortunately for you, I'm saving you from that because unless your AI has actually read the required sources for this course, then it's going to be very difficult for your AI to actually do the work because I want you using pretty much only the sources I'm providing, not anything else. All right, and citing primary and secondary sources incorrectly. I will give you allowance while we're learning the citation thing about what you've got to have in it. But effectively, more to the point is if you are, let's say you decide you want to use Wikipedia as a source, but you know that you're not supposed to use Wikipedia because anybody can go into Wikipedia and change it is not a reputable academic source. So knowing already that if you use Wikipedia, I'm going to take points off your paper, instead you try to bluff and tell me that it came from somewhere else. Okay, that's lying. So yeah, don't do that either. That's plagiarism. That's one of the big ones we don't do. All right, so examples of academic dishonesty include recycling, literally submitting a single assignment for multiple courses without the instructor's knowledge or permission. If you have written something before for someone else that you want to use in my course, ask me. Send it to me and say, okay, I wrote this for a previous class, but I think it's really relevant to what we're doing. Can I use this or part of this as my post? Now, I'm telling you this now for two reasons. One is because it is what you're supposed to do. Secondly, because if you have ever submitted anything at all to Turnitin, it's still there and it's going to come up as a match. And then I'm going to be like, all right, so why exactly is it that you have a 75% match to something that somebody else wrote at another school, 3 years ago? Because it's not going to tell me who you are. It's just going to say it matches that. So if you want to do that, you need to ask me beforehand. And again, send me that. Again, the other ones, getting assignments from anywhere else, Course Hero, other students, anything, and using unauthorized materials during an exam. Now, again, part of what the Respondus Lockdown browser does is it's going to actually record you taking the exam. It's going to lock you out of being able to go to other websites on your laptop. It's not going to lock you out of having, an iPad. In fact, you're going to want to have an iPad or a phone somewhere so you can get to the sources you can use. And I'm fine with that, but you're not supposed to use anything other than the sources I'm providing, your textbook, and then whatever readings we've had from Harari or Frankopan, and then anything else that I've put up there. All right, so other things you can use, the Academic Enhancement Center, online study groups. Apparently, this is a thing. I've not heard of CircleIn, but they are giving us a crash course on it, so you can go there for help with studying, and all the other fun things that go along with this. Again, I encourage you, read through the entire syllabus. Not now. It's going to be loaded on the website. I will show you, and I will also be sending it to you via email. On the first day of class tomorrow, you will have this. If, however, you were not here on that first day, or if you lose this email or accidentally delete it, then you can go to the most important stuff section of the website, which I will show you in a moment, and you will find a copy of it there. All right. Again, academic respect, all the other fine things about academic integrity, and all the other vital, important parts. Attendance policy, again, with the discussion, top post being due on Thursday, and then all of the responses over the next 5 days. You're going to be pretty active in our web environment which is going to count as your attendance. All right, so COVID-19 statement, yay, all the wonderful fun things about that. Respect for diversity, and it's going to be a very interesting class. We cover all the different societies throughout the world between effectively 1400 and the present. So lots and lots and lots of different cultures, different peoples, lots of fun stuff we're going to be talking about. All right, again, look through all of this, read through all of this, understand your rights and obligations in the syllabus. If you have any questions about this, please email me and I will answer them as well as I can. And that concludes this particular video on the syllabus itself. So onward and upward to actually what we're doing with the web page itself. See you in a few.